Gridiron Grinder! Hut hut hike!
All right, we're rolling. It's Wednesday night, Gridiron Grinder time. I am Ryan. This guy, whichever way he is, I don't know if you're to my left or my right, but that's James. We're just a couple of dudes hanging out, talking about what's going on in the NFL each week. This is episode 203. We're going to start it off with Name That Stadium, like we always do. I don't know why, but we do it. Then we're going to do the news from the past week, which is, kind of a short week because we did Friday, but we had all the games, so we'll talk about stuff. And then we're going to give you guys our power rankings and game picks for week 4. After that, we'll close it off with our question of the week. And I'll just spill the beans, James. We talked about Doug Peterson possibly getting fired last week, if they lost against Buffalo. They got their asses kicked. So I'm going to ask you
Right.
again, would you do it now? Because you were saying you would probably wait, two games, right? Not just the one, but I think you were saying depending on how bad they lost or whatever, maybe you'd have to think about it. But so we'll just put a pin in that and let's talk about it at the end again and see what you're thinking now that you saw that beatdown. Yeah.
All right.
So whenever you're ready,
I
my
remember
man.
what I said. I remember what I said too. So it won't be that big of a deal. So we're moving on to name that stadium as I cut you off as you were saying. So section of shows you can see I'm traveling around different stadiums that host NFL games. Tie it into something of the week or something I feel like. So last week, first person guesses right, gets extra shout out. I don't know why I even say that. Nobody guesses anymore. So fucking guess. It's not that hard. It should be obvious this week. I go here all the time. I know you didn't know I was in town, but um, as you can see, I
Yeah.
am. But anyways, last week I think I was in Minnesota last week. I'm pretty sure. That's where I intended to go. Hopefully, I picked the right picture for it. But I chose that game because I thought that game was prime for upset. And
Oh, you were right. You were
yeah,
right.
I think I didn't pick it, or did I pick it? No, and I didn't pick it, but I wanted to pick it. And like a couple of the games that like I got wrong when we get to picks, I want to bitch about, but because I was like my gut was telling me to go the other way and I didn't, so I just
That's
couldn't
all
bring
right.
myself
That's all
to
right.
it.
You did
Anyways,
you did better than me. So
anyways, play name that stadium. Guess you'll enjoy it.
hopefully you'll enjoy it. And,
Oh,
hey, I
you
mean, we talked
will
about it 3 years
enjoy it.
ago. If people were playing every week, we would have bought some swag. I'd have mailed you guys a bumper sticker or a magnet to put on your fridge or, a t-shirt or a pencil or a pen or something, whatever the kids like these days, like the little things that you stick in your Crocs, give you a little gridiron grinder thingamajig, whatever, man. But no, we've got like 6 people to play in 3 years, so F you guys. But if you feel inspired, take us on. We don't make it that hard. And even if we did, it's just for fun anyhow. No loss for you, only gain, only fame and fortune with our 7 viewers. I mean, you'd be known, I'd like to say regionally, but it's like you'd be known
And a few
maybe just in
households
your own
across
household.
and a
So,
few households possibly across a
Southeast
sig
Detroit area.
possibly across. Well, actually, you could theoretically say nationwide because
Yes.
it's a pretty wide distance from California to Michigan, so it's pretty
That's
close to
true. That's
nationwide.
true. Yeah, yeah. We're national, James. We're national. We need to be pumping that. Oh gosh, national NFL entertainment crew, whatever you want to call us. But yeah, so that's name that stadium. Let's do our recap of the past week, James. And one thing that I don't know that we did this last week, but we did it a lot last year was our surprise games of the week. And so looking at, you were just talking about some of the picks they didn't go the way you thought they would, but you were kind of on the fence with some of them. Man, the Giants beating down Cleveland. I think it's because even with Watson sucking, I expected the Browns defense to just be so good and with it being in Cleveland, I thought, come on, the Browns got to win that game. And dude, it was just so bad. The end of the game, it was like neither team wanted to win, but like the Giants were up, and so it was like, I guess we're just going to win, and it's just the way it ended.
That's basically how it fucking ended. The Browns just didn't have enough to it. Fucking Giants scored in the first half. Browns couldn't. I mean, another dismal performance by fucking Watson. Like 196 yards passing. Like seriously.
Yeah, and he got like three different shots at the end to bring him back, and just sucked all of them. And another one, James, just looking at the scores here, was Denver beating frickin' Tampa Bay in Tampa Bay, 26-7.
So here's the thing with that, and I almost picked
Well, I know you
Denver
were
to win
talking
this
about
game.
the injuries on Tampa Bay's defense, but
But
man,
his
that's
injuries on
not
Tampa
enough to
Bay's
warrant that.
no, no, no. The injuries on Tampa Bay's defense was part of it, but like I was tempted to pick Denver to win because I've seen a progression with a little bit of a progression with Bo Nix, and as the
Okay.
game is kind of um, slowing down for him, and the rushes are being slowed down, getting to him, he's just gonna get better. I mean, he had what 216 yards, I think is what the stat says. I mean, no touchdowns, but so like this season, he's kind of progressively getting better. Like yeah, he had like a lot against Pittsburgh, but like he started with 138 and then in the 200s, but he was sacked twice in his first two games and threw two interceptions. Where this game he wasn't sacked, didn't throw an interception. So it's just getting a little bit better and a little
Yeah.
bit better each time. And I mean he's going to get there. I don't know if he was worth a first round pick, but time will tell. But as he's learning the stuff and like if Peyton's doing what I think Peyton's doing, he's just gonna get better because you see this now, and um, you see this now. So next time we see it, we don't have to go over it. You know what to do.
Yeah. Yeah, and so then the next one that stuck out to me was Carolina beating the Raiders. And so we knew they were making the change at quarterback, but holy shit, man. Was not expecting the Red Rocket to come out and just beat down the Raiders.
So the thing of it is, and I think I even texted you this, like how they were playing in that game against the Raiders was how I expected them to look coming into the season. And
Yep.
I'm really with how they looked in that game, I'm really reconsidering whether I'm going to
Yeah, can you
be
smoke them that hard or can you start to warm up to them?
yeah, if I'm going to start to warm up to them again because I think Carolina can be a really good team, and they show. I mean, it was against the Raiders, but it's still like they looked they looked like a cohesive unit. They looked like they knew how to play defense. They looked like their offense was jiving. I like told you like Andy Dalton is the first quarterback and possibly still the only quarterback this season to have over 300 or more yards and three or more touchdowns in a single game. Um, and also in two games that that Dalton has started for Carolina, he has more 300-yard passing games than Bryce Young has 250 plus yard passing games in
Yeah.
18 starts.
Yeah,
That's a
it's not good.
ridiculous stat.
Yeah, and I mean, dude, he was airing it out. He was not afraid. And you expect a veteran to come off the bench to be you know, I think maybe a calculated kind of maybe sometimes a safer guy because they just want to keep the team afloat. But it looked like Dalton was saying, "Hey, man, this might be my last shot at starting, so I'm just gonna
Hmm.
sling it," and it worked. It worked. Yeah, and then the last one I had was Washington over the Bengals. Man, I wasn't sure what to make of the Commanders after the first couple weeks,
Hmm.
and the game against Cincinnati in prime time. Not only was it a coming out party for Jaden Daniels, um, they had so many things go right for Washington, and then for Cincinnati, it's like we're continuing to see the issues for them. And it's mostly on the defensive side of the ball. But I'm not just going to throw the defense under the bus because Burrow was even missing some passes that are uncharacteristic of him. And I know
Okay.
he's got a
Okay.
lot of
Okay.
people watching him
I'm gonna.
because of the wrist thing or whatever,
I'm
but
gonna. I'm gonna. I'm gonna pull back on that. Burrow had 9 incompletions the entire game.
oh, I know.
9 incompletions the entire game. You say, oh, he's missing this stuff. He had 324 yards, 3 touchdowns. He had a solid game. Like he had a good
Yeah,
game. Yeah,
and,
he did
and,
have
and
those
he was
passes that are
doing a lot at
off
the end
line.
to bring him back for sure. And, I do like the chemistry's coming back with Jamar Chase. But he missed, what was it, Higgins in the end zone? And then I think it was Higgins. He missed him for a first down on an out route. I mean, and so I get it. Only nine incompletions, but a couple of them were big ones, is what I'm getting at, that are
Right,
uncharacteristic for Joe Burrow to miss those kind of passes.
but if I remember correctly, the time he missed Higgins in the end zone, there was clear pass interference on the play. Like, and it wasn't called. It was a horrible
Might have
miscall.
been. He threw it a little too high, but pass interference. Yeah, I mean that would be a factor anyhow. So either way, I was not expecting that game to go that way. So yeah, not to hate your boy, not to hate your boy Joe Burrow, man. I like Burrow. I'm not sure I
No, I'm
like the
not.
hair, but
I don't understand the hair. If you're asking, I just don't get
Burrow
it.
is that he's like the savior of that team, dude. They sucked so bad until they brought in Joe Burrow. And they built up the defense, which helped them make that Super Bowl run. But now the defense is in decline, and they need to rely heavily on Burrow. And we're seeing that if the defense lets another team put up 38 points, there's only so much Joe Burrow can do. He's not freaking Superman.
Which that is true. And so Burrow, what's this? His fifth, sixth year? Because a lot of the problems, if I remember correctly, with so this is his fifth year. Yeah, I was right the first time. He 2020, 21, 22, 23, 24. So this is his fifth year. In 2019, they weren't that bad. Like not 2019, but like 2015, 2016. They had a solid. Yeah, that was like that was with they had what's his name as the head coach in 2015, and like they were winning a game, and like the only thing that could happen for them to lose the game was them to fucking choke in the playoffs, and they fucking choked. There's like 6 penalties, defensive penalties in a row, or something ridiculous like that.
Oh man. All right, yeah, finish your thought, but I want to come back to the penalty thing. Just reminded me of something, but yeah, keep going.
Yeah, I want to say like it was like Perfect had a stupid ass penalty, and Pac-Man Jones had a stupid ass penalty, and
Yeah, they shot themselves in the foot.
yeah, which led to the game winning field goal. I it may not be that game, but like that's what's sticking out in my head
Okay.
on it. And it was Pittsburgh that they lost to. Blah 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 blah. Oh, and that was also like a catch that Blandino came out and said, I don't think it was a catch.
Okay.
And that was what, lost the game. But yeah, so sports writer Mike Freeman called the game one of the dirtiest and ugliest contests in the modern era of the sport. Burfict received a 3-game suspension for his hit.
Is that when he killed Antonio Brown, basically?
Yeah. 4 players, 2 assistant coaches received fines because the coaches entered the field of play.
Can't do that.
And this was because they were 12-4, even though they lost Andy Dalton in like week 14. Yeah, Marvin Lewis.
All right.
Yeah,
So
they kicked a field goal with 17 seconds left. Yeah, this is the game that I'm remembering. So they had the ball in their own 11-yard line with 1:23 left. 4th and 3, but it came in on a 12-yard reception. Next play, Roethlisberger threw intended for Brown. The pass was incomplete, but Burfict was flagged for personal foul. And as he was being attended to, both teams, Adam Jones was flagged for a personal foul after an altercation with Joey Porter, giving the Steelers another. So they got 30 yards to the Bengals 17 where they could kick the game-winning field goal. And that was the only way they fucking lost.
Because of the penalties. I gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, that's just sloppy.
Yeah, it's just sloppy, but that's completely the game I was remembering.
Okay. Well, let me tell you the penalty thing that triggered with me is that week 1 we saw a million of those penalties for like that illegal formation or whatever on the offensive line where the tackle was too far back. Dude, it seems like they just forgot that they're calling that now because so many games over the weekend, I didn't see one of them get called, and so many guys are so far back from the center. They're supposed to be at his like belt line or whatever. Some of them aren't even like when you're looking down the camera angle, there's like a clear gap from their helmet to the very back of the center. And I'm like, wow, like they made it such a point in week 1 that they were going to call this. And just like that, week 3, it's gone. And James, this is my little conspiracy theory, even though I don't really believe in all that kind of stuff. But I think, the NFL said, hey, knock that shit off because the scoring's down and people don't like that. People want more points. And that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened this past week, man. Points went way up.
And the game flow is interrupted, but also the game flow is interrupted. And,
yep.
I don't know who had said it, but at one point somebody said, you could probably call a penalty on every play.
Oh, for sure. Holding on every play.
Yeah. And but it's like that one, and what's his face from Kansas City who false starts 95% of the time.
Jawan Taylor.
Yeah. Like 95% of the time he goes early, but he's never flagged for a fucking false start. And like in the Ravens Chiefs game, like how many times did they call Staley for
Ronnie Stanley,
illegal formation being in the backfield, but they didn't call it once on fucking the Chiefs.
Yeah, you're right. And if he doesn't do that, he gets torched. That's why he's got to do it. And I mean the Chiefs rule thing, like they're getting ripped on all week because of the Falcons game in that missed call on the pass interference against Pitts in the end zone, and it's like, come on, man, like the rules just don't apply to the Chiefs. Finally a team looks like they're going to beat them, and the NFL just misses like such a blatantly obvious pass interference call.
That like they're 3-0 and they've won by a fake flag, a
Mm-hmm.
non-call, and a fucking toenail. Like
Mm-hmm.
seriously,
Mm-hmm.
like
I mean, the
how
toenail, he was legitimately out, man. I mean, I
no,
saw it,
he
but
was he was legitimately out.
yeah,
But the thing of it is they were beat. If he if he
yeah.
if he wore a size 11 and a half instead of a size 11 shoe, they would have fucking won the game. That reminds me of like fucking Kevin Durant with the Brooklyn Nets, where like he hit what was thought to be a 3-pointer, but it was called a 2-pointer, which tied the game, and or which meant it didn't tie the game. And like the serious thing about it was Kevin Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant wears a shoe purposely because he likes to feel it better. That's a half size too big. If he
Gotcha.
just wore his
Yep.
regular size shoes instead of a half size too big, it would have been a 3-pointer, but it was a
Yeah.
2-pointer because he has those big ass clown shoes.
Well, he needs to know that, and he needs to adjust his feel of the court appropriately. But yeah, I hear you, man. The Chiefs, they've been getting away with some. And, I mean, it's, you look at it now. Pacheco's hurt. Um, Hollywood Brown is still out. Kelsey's having a very slow start to the year. Um, the defense has been playing pretty goddamn good overall. And the offense is kind of like, you know, Rashi Rice has been good. And, they're making just enough plays to get it done, but they're getting a little bit of luck on their side too. And it's tough when you're the Super Bowl big dog, you don't want that team winning on luck because you want it
Mm-hmm.
as fair as possible. And if anybody can get one on them and they deserve it, it needs to happen, right? And so it's just whatever. You don't want to give them easy street and then, week 10, everybody's back and healthy and they just roll straight through the Super Bowl again.
Yeah, and so I wanted to look at the injury report because I think like their entire like running back room, yeah, it is because Edwards-Helaire is still out,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. So
so
they're
like
rolling with Carson Steele, Samaje P. Ryan, and they brought back Kareem Hunt.
yeah, and I think I read somewhere that Kareem Hunt is going to be starting for them this week.
I wouldn't be surprised because, they were excited for Carson Steele, but he was like very underwhelming in the first shot. And
Mm-hmm.
then P. Ryan, he's like really a great pass blocker and he can catch out of the backfield, but he's not going to be a guy that you want on first and second down pounding the rock. And so, even though, man, the guy is such like a freaking bulldog, he's so strong, you'd think he'd be better at that. But, um, and then Kareem Hunt, he still showed that he's got some wiggle, right? And he
Mm-hmm.
can do a little bit of everything. Plus, he knows the playbook, at least to some degree already. He's just got to shake the rust off. And, you know, so Hunt, I don't think we're not going to see vintage Kareem Hunt, but we could see a guy that's better than the other options there.
Yeah, Carson Steele didn't have that bad of a game against Atlanta. I will say that. Did you watch the game?
I did, yeah.
Did you see how and like it's a sidetrack, but it's first of all, anybody that's getting married on a fucking Sunday is a jackass, especially during football season.
Yeah.
So apparently, like one of his good friends, he was supposed to be the best man in the wedding, got married on Sunday, and so they showed like apparently whatever fuck was it, a Monday night game? Was it Monday night? Sunday night? Whenever it was Monday night, because I remember thinking, oh, I forgot to mention that Kirk Cousins was playing in a primetime game. But anyways, so it was on a Monday.
No, they were
Whatever.
Sunday night.
They were Sunday night. Okay, thank you. I remember thinking, but anyways, so apparently NBC had cameras at their buddy's wedding, and they had a big ass fucking screen, and everybody was watching the Chiefs game.
I'm sure the wife
Oh,
loved that.
yeah, I'm sure the wife loved that. I just had a naked baby walk into my
Oh
office.
boy, we're gonna have to censor. Can we do the thing where it like pixelates it all out? I don't know.
And she walked in, looked at me. I kind of put my hand up like that, so she closed the door and went the other way.
Oh boy.
But
God
anyway,
dang.
anyways, yeah, I'm sure the wife fucking loved that.
Yeah.
Like nobody's fucking dancing at the wedding because they're watching the fucking game. I mean, granted, it was it was supposed to be like he was supposed to be like the best man or something, and he was an undrafted free agent that that caught on with the Chiefs. So who would have really thought that
Yeah, and he had a
he would be
great
playing in the
preseason.
NFL game?
He
Yeah,
runs with a lot of power. They like the intensity. And I think he's got a shot, right? It's just one game, right? And he just, I'm sure he was not expecting to get thrown into action like that this quickly, right? So,
yeah. But I mean, he still had 72 yards rushing. I mean, it was 4.2 yards
yeah,
a carry,
yeah,
but
that's respectable for sure.
yeah, for like the first time you're gaining any real game action. Like the first game he had 2 carries, second game he had 7, and then all of a sudden he jumps up to 17.
Yep.
So I mean, it's respectable that that's what he had in his first start in the NFL. So I think he could catch on and be good, but especially in the Andy Reid offense, there's no doubt.
Yeah.
I
Carve
mean,
out a
he was
role, man. Andy Reid, he in ways does like the Belichick thing with players. Like, hey man, Jerick McKinnon, you just got to learn 5 plays in this offense and be the
hmm
best at those 5 plays. And when the time comes, you're going to get some sweet stats because you're going to bang out those 5 plays. Obviously some guys do more than that, but he's been good, especially with running backs at utilizing them in that kind of a committee. All right, so
except for
James,
Clyde Edwards-Helaire, motherfucker.
yeah, yeah, that's a whole different story. But all right, man. News wise, why don't you lead the way here? Tell me what you want to cover.
All right. So first of all, Derwin James suspended this week for the hit on Fryermuth. He should have been re-
I
he
didn't I
should have
didn't
been
see the
suspended.
hit, but it was bad.
So it wasn't a defenseless player, but he hit clear on fucking helmet to helmet. Like he launched the crown of his helmet um at Fryermuth, and I don't think it was intentional, but he's had since he entered the NFL, he's had 7 unnecessary roughness penalties, second in the league since he entered the NFL.
Okay.
Which I mean, at some point, you have to, even though he's making the effort, like you're giving him chance after chance after chance, like they gave him 6 fucking chances before they're like, you know what,
You gotta sit down one,
you got
man.
to sit down.
Okay. You see this stuff with Favre, man?
I saw a little like Favre has I'd
Parkinson's.
heard he has Parkinson's um because and it came out because of the whole, and that's another aspect. So that whole scandal with charity and
Yeah.
welfare or whatever in Mississippi. So part like that whole thing, like the journalist that actually wrote the article is facing jail time because the former governor of Mississippi sued for defamation,
Okay.
and the judge has ordered her to quote he wants her email. Okay, let's see, blah blah blah, because reporting truthful, but former governor also recently asked the circuit court to hold Wolf, the journalist, and the organization in contempt of court because they're not turning over her note. I'm assuming her I'm gonna say yeah, because it's Anna Wolf. I was right. It is a her. Um, wants her notes, wants her emails, wants her confidential sources, and the judge has ordered, at the very least, that they show him what they've got so he can determine the relevance in the case. So that and like obviously the journalist is saying no, I'm not going to turn it over, and the judge is possibly gonna, she's refusing to turn it over, and the news organization is refusing to turn it over, so she's possibly facing jail time for it,
Okay.
which is crazy. But
Yeah.
I digress. Yeah, I had seen and heard. I don't know much about what Favre said. I know he has like 700 concussions in his career, so it's not a surprise, not downplaying, not a real
Yeah. I know what you
surprise
mean. Yeah.
that he has other head stuff going on.
Yeah, I don't know if the two are connected, It's like, when I hear about it, I always think of Michael J. Fox, Back to the Future, but it's like, it just, it sucks, man. It sounds like it's a real hard thing for people to deal with. So, and there's a lot of things that are hard to deal with, but, Favre is obviously like a legendary quarterback and in the news for it. So, just calling it out.
Yeah, no, I know. I didn't know if you had anything
Mhm.
really else on it.
I did not.
I mean,
It looks
besides
like,
like, go
oh, go
ahead.
ahead.
I was gonna say there's like a few injuries, like Eckler's out with a concussion, and
Yeah, it looks like
somebody
two of the
else.
offensive linemen for the Chargers are going to be out. And so it's like, okay, Herbert is talking about playing week 4, but with, 40% of his offensive line out. And so I don't know, dude. This is a tough season for Herbert because of the injury lagging or nagging injury thing. And it's starting to seem like this could be like the knock on him for his career, right? Like he keeps having random kind of fluke injuries that just linger over him.
Yeah, I hear that. I think it might be so. Coming out of college, I wasn't that high on Herbert, anyways.
I know, but he lit it up as a rookie, dude.
But like, I just because yeah, because Oregon quarterbacks never do good in the NFL. I can't name a fucking single. I can't even name one Oregon quarterback
Joey Harrington. Oh
that
no.
that was successful in the NFL. And no, Joey Harrington was not successful besides his 700 touchdown performance against the Lions on Thanksgiving.
Yes, as a Miami Dolphin, that motherfucker. Joey Blue Skies. All right, either way, what else you got news wise, my man?
Um,
Nothing? Okay, we can move on.
Not much, just a bunch of injuries. So yeah, so like here's the list of quarterbacks that played in the NFL. Maybe Akili Smith was decent.
Mm,
Mm, Dan Fouts. Dan Fouts is possibly the last Oregon quarterback to have a successful NFL career.
okay.
Maybe no, he wasn't that good. I mean, he had some. All right, so here's the list of basically all Oregon quarterbacks to be in the NFL: Joey Harrington, Dennis Dixon, whoever the fuck that is, Dan Fouts, Kellen Clemens,
Okay.
Norm Van Brocklin, Akili Smith, Chris Miller, Bill Musgrave, Tony Graziani, Bob Berry, George Shaw, Jeremiah Mascioli, Jack Crabtree, Jason Fife, AJ Feely, and Brady Leaf.
Okay.
Maybe Dan Fouts is the last successful quarterback?
Yep. But come on, there's a lot of schools, a lot of quarterbacks. You know, I mean, if you get one that's good, you can put a pin in it and whatever. But um,
I don't, actually, you know what? I don't think that's all of them.
okay,
No, don't forget. Yeah, that's not all of them. So Marcus Mariota,
Mariota.
uh, NFL. Oh, I'm sorry. Possibly. I know he had a good coaching career. Oh, well, did he? As a coach, he didn't play in the NFL, did he? Looks like Norv Turner was a quarterback for Miami. Yeah, so like Dan Fouts is like the last one to
Okay.
be successful in the NFL. I mean, the book's still out on Herbert and Bo Nix, but
But yeah, historically speaking, the odds are against them.
yeah, exactly. But that's about all I had for the news.
Okay. Well, let's put the news away. Let's do our power rankings.
All right. So there's little shaking up in my power rankings this week.
Shake, shake, shake.
Um, in fact, I think I kept like 4 teams at the same spot. First team is the Kansas City Chiefs. They won. Yeah, I joke because like they've kind of lucked into wins,
Yeah,
but I mean they're still winning, and
yeah.
that's the thing. And like if they were to play the Lions right now, do I think the Chiefs would win? Probably. Which the Lions are my number two. They moved up one spot. Mostly they moved up one spot because I dropped. Um, who did I have there?
San Fran, maybe.
San Fran. I dropped San Fran
Okay.
out of that spot after that loss. And then I have Baltimore moved up one spot, Philadelphia moved up one spot, and Buffalo that moved up 2 spots.
Gotcha.
Um, it's mostly because I dropped teams out. Then I really thought these teams' wins were that impressive, with the exception of Buffalo. Buffalo, I thought that was an impressive win over Jacksonville. I considered actually with Philadelphia dropping them this week
Yeah, it was a tight one.
with the tight win over New Orleans, but then I started thinking maybe I'm not giving New Orleans enough credit this season.
Yeah, because they started so hot in weeks 1 and 2, and the defense has been on fire as much as the
Mm-hmm.
offense.
Yeah, exactly.
I got you. All right, yeah, my 1 through 5. I've got Kansas City, Buffalo, Baltimore, San Francisco, and Detroit. Kansas City stayed where they're at, even though they got away with one. Buffalo went up 2. I think, man, they're trying to put the league on notice that, we thought that they might have been left for dead, and this could be like a firing round for everybody. And they don't want it to happen, man. The pressure's on. Baltimore,
That's
I moved
that's
them up
that's
3. I did like the wins for both Buffalo and Baltimore. I thought they both won with authority. Baltimore, I thought could have won more, and it just seemed like maybe they took their foot off the gas because they were up so much. And it was almost a mistake because Dallas almost got like right back into it. But
hmm
and then at 4 with San Francisco, I dropped them 2. Starting to lose patience with them. I know CMC is still out, but they should still be better than this. And then at 5 with the Lions, I kept them where they were at. They started that game hot against Arizona, but then they almost gave it away in the second half. And the Lions are, to me, when I watch them, dude, they're just missing something with consistency. And I am nervous. I mean, you've heard me bitch and moan about all the TV commercials and sponsorships, all that stuff they're doing, but it just seems like something is just not all the way there yet for them on offense. And
Hmm.
drives are stalling out. Goff is making random stupid mistakes like that one turnover. And they're just like, it's like, man, it's just like right to the defense. It's like, oh my gosh, it's not even like it's getting tipped up or anything. And so that makes me nervous. But back to you at 6, man.
So I wanted to go back to the news for a second,
Sure.
because there was one injury that I wanted to highlight, and it's not because like he's yeah, he was the leading tackler for like 2 years for Denver Broncos, Alex Singleton. Did you hear about his injury? He tore
No.
his ACL in the game on over the weekend.
Okay.
Um, he tore his ACL on the eighth play of the game. After that, he played another 49 plays in the game on a torn ACL.
Oh my gosh, man. He's lucky he didn't get burrowed.
And he was limping. He told like the training staff after the game that it was feeling tight. So he had an MRI and it's like, dude, you have a torn ACL.
Are you sure it's feeling tight? It should feel like it's like totally ripped apart.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. He said um,
it should feel really loose actually because it was severed.
yeah. So he was kind of he was. We saw him in the training room after the game. I'm sorry. He reported, quote, some soreness.
Okay.
Some soreness.
Just
It's
a
a
hard
fucking
ass, man. Just a
yeah.
hard ass.
So
That's the kind of football player I like, James.
yeah, I agree, but
That's
it's
that's like the Al
crazy.
Bundy dude. He's just gonna be everything's broken and beat down and doesn't matter. He's gonna play. Uh,
All right, so at number 6, I have the Steelers. I moved them up 4 spots. Did you hear what Tomlin said about uh, Justin Fields this
no.
week? It was more about Russ. He was asked if when Russ is healthy, if Justin Fields would be the starting quarterback, and Tomlin's response was, "I don't make decisions before I have to make them,"
Uh,
or some shit like that. I was like, "Oh man, that's awesome. That's like that's
Shut you
like
down.
the best fucking response. I don't have to make that decision, so I'm not going to." It's like we'll see when it comes type of
Yeah.
shit. But anyways, so I really like how Pittsburgh's playing. Like I was really high on them on our way too early, and then I was like, wait a minute, am I going like crazy? Am I seeing something here that's not really there? Am I making shit up? But they're playing really well. And I mean, they beat the Chargers again. I mean, it's their defense is just dominant, and Justin Fields is doing exactly what he needs to do.
Sweet.
Number 7, I have the Vikings. I jumped them 11 spots this week. Sam Darnold is just fucking balling up there.
Yeah.
Like you called it at the beginning of the season, or before the season, how like they say like the best thing that could have happened to Sam Darnold is the year under Shanahan. But the other thing I'm seeing is like weird, ridiculous articles about, well, is it gonna change the NFL's trajectory on quarterback, and they're gonna go for the more affordable options, blah blah. No, that's not gonna do shit. Sam Darnold is a good player. They have a good coach up there. They have it's just the right. I don't know if Minnesota would be playing any differently, winning any less if McCarthy was the quarterback. Just it's
Their
a good
defense has been
offense.
lights out
Defense
too.
has been fucking awesome.
Yeah, you've got some really good weapons on offense, and um, the defense has just been. I mean, Brian Flores has got that playing like one of the top defenses in the league, man.
Hmm. Number 8, I have the Texans. They just lost to Minnesota. I'm not out on them, but I dropped them 2 spots. They're on notice. They could fall if I don't see better things out of them. Number 9, I have San Francisco. San Francisco, I dropped them 7 spots. The reason I dropped them 7 spots, yeah, it was only a field goal loss to the Rams. And I swear to God, I remember picking the Rams last week, and I checked everything, and I didn't fucking pick them. I was so pissed at that. I was like rooting for that game. I was like, oh yeah, fucking right. And then I get the spreadsheet. I go. I check my notes. I didn't I didn't pick them. I was certain I changed to the Rams.
You had a brain
100% certain.
block.
And I dropped
Well,
San
go back
Francisco.
and check the tape. If you did, we'll switch it.
No, because I checked my spreadsheet that I still had open, and
Okay.
if I would have changed it in that spreadsheet if I would have changed that pick, because I did change a
Gotcha.
couple picks during the show, but that wasn't one of them.
Okay.
Um, San Francisco, the injuries are just piling up for them.
Yeah.
And I think I read like Trent Williams, like wasn't Trent Williams hurt in the game too? And
I want to say the right tackle got hurt, but maybe Trent Williams did too. And that's like the history for the 49ers, man. It's like it seems like almost every year they like lead the league in players on IR. It's
Mhm.
just so messed up, man.
Okay, so he didn't practice due to illness.
Okay.
That's what it was. But he did exit the game. It was him that injured the game or left the game. Blah 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 blah. During the second quarter, Trent Williams exited the game. Appeared to get up slow. Um, went into the locker room early. Oh, he left with cramps. So I mean that's something that should tell you he missed a lot of the conditioning. Anyways, number 10, I have the Cowboys. I only dropped them 2 spots. If it would have, because it was 28-3 at some point, I believe.
Yeah.
And if that trajectory would have continued, I probably would have dropped the Cowboys more. But because they fought back and made it at least a close game, I only dropped them 2 spots to number 10.
I gotcha. Yeah. So my 6 through 10, I've got Houston, Dallas, Philly, the Jets, and Cincinnati. I was not as aggressive in the moves as you, although I was tempted, and that's kind of like par for the course, right? Looking back at the last few years, typically you kind of make the big move quick, and then I wait another week just to kind of like confirm it right, and then I move it. And so like that's where I've not gone crazy with Pittsburgh. Well, you didn't do a huge move with Pittsburgh, but like Minnesota upwards or San Francisco downwards are the ones here for tonight. But you can definitely make the case that they deserve to be above Houston and San Francisco, and I don't have them there yet. I still got Houston at 6. I still believe in them. The board didn't really do many favors here either, but man, yeah, I don't know. A lot to think about. Dallas, I kept them where they were at. Uh, you know, it's kind of like you're saying. Had they not come back and made it close at the very end, I would have dropped them. But I thought, well, fuck, man, it's Baltimore, and so, Baltimore's one of my top teams. I guess I can't hit them too hard on it. And then Philly, it was a similar kind of thing. Like, okay, they got to win. New Orleans has been hot. I'm just going to keep them where they're at. I'm not going to bump them up, but I'm not going to bump them down. Jalen Hurts struggled. Obviously, A.J. Brown was out. Devonta Smith got hurt. Saquon saved the day like a week after he lost the day for them. So that was kind of nice to see the rebound. Then with the Jets, I've got them at 9. I moved them up 1. Uh, it wasn't all that great that they beat New England, but it is interesting to see like the night and day difference with Rodgers in that
Mm-hmm.
game. And it's kind of like we saw it the week before with Cousins, right? And so it's like all these guys that are coming off of these injuries, they're just slowly like zipping right back into it. And I would say Burrows was, Monday night, man. Burrow had a great outing, even though they lost. But All these quarterbacks coming off their injuries, they're starting to like click now. And then at 10 with Cincinnati, this is basically my last straw on Cincinnati before I do one of those knee jerk reactions on them. But it's kind of like I was saying, teams like Minnesota, San Francisco, Cincy, it's like I'm trying so hard to stick with my theory for them, and I give them one more week probably, and then I'm gonna have to make a big move. So back to you at 11, man.
All right, 11. I have the Chargers dropped 2 spots off the loss.
And keep talking. I'm
Part
gonna get some water.
part of most one of them was really because I moved Minnesota up so much. 12. I have the Jets. Like I moved Miami down from ahead of the Jets, which is why they moved. Same with Seattle. Even though they won, like I had Miami, the Jets, Seattle in that order. Seattle beat Miami, so Seattle at a minimum should be ahead of Miami, which I have at 14, which was a 3 spot drop. Then I have the Rams. The Rams, I wanted to move them up a little bit after gutting it out for San Francisco, but then the more I thought about it, the more I was wondering if it's just really the injuries catching up to San Francisco versus the Rams being back. Plus, the Rams are starting to get used to having the injuries. The Rams have a lot of injuries too, so that game was really a game of attrition that the Rams pulled out, and so I gave them a 1 spot bump. But like I said, I think it was more San Francisco losing the game than the Rams winning the game.
Yeah, because it did seem like San Francisco had it under control in the first half, maybe
Mm-hmm.
through the 3 quarters, and then it just slipped away. But yeah, I like that assessment. All right, so for me at 11, I got Green Bay, then Tampa Bay, Pittsburgh, Los Angeles Chargers, and then the Seattle Seahawks. With Green Bay, hey, it was nice. You were talking about it last week, the Malik Willis revenge game. He got it. I think he's shown a lot of flash and a lot of potential so far for a guy that I wrote off a long time ago. And so I like seeing it. I hope it continues. Tampa Bay, man, I mean, we covered it. Even with the injuries, that was a winnable game for them, in my opinion. It was at home. I didn't like seeing them lose that game. Pittsburgh, it just keeps blowing my mind how they keep winning games the way they're winning games. It just, I don't know. I don't know what else to say. With the Chargers, the Herbert thing is really starting to give me pause. I was high on them going into the year, and his injury. I know Harbaugh wants to be a run first team and a defensive team, but Harbaugh also did talk about Herbert being the guy. Hey, you run, you run, you run, and then he can drop it deep, and that's what they wanted it to be, like the cherry on top. Well, if he's got these nagging injuries every week, he's not going to be the cherry on top, especially now with a banged up offensive line. And so, my opinion of the Chargers is deteriorating quickly. And then Seattle, I know that Miami was hobbled, but Mike McDonald has that team looking really good so far. And there are a lot of people talking about how much better I'm sorry, not that offense, how much better that defense is going to get the more time he has with them. And we know the offense has weapons. They just need to, they need to gel a little bit more. But yeah, I'm excited for Seattle, man.
I'm not excited for Seattle because of this week's game, but
Yeah, that's a different story.
all right. For me, at 16, I have the Bengals. I dropped them 4. I really wanted to drop the Bengals more, and like honestly, when I was doing the game picks, I really was questioning when Cincinnati's going to win their next game or their first game, because they look like we've hit it. They look bad. Like
Yeah.
they're not.
And now
they're
what
not,
do they say? It's 2.4% of teams that start 0-3 make the playoffs.
yeah, something ridiculous like that. Um, but the reason why Cincinnati didn't drop more is because a bunch of teams that I had in this range lost, so it's kind of hard to drop them below teams like
Yeah.
Cleveland. Like I didn't drop Cleveland because Cleveland I didn't drop because I don't know what the fuck to do with Cleveland. Like really,
Yeah.
like they have what looks like such a good defense that seems to play so shitty sometimes, and the offense is terrible. Like fucking Deshaun is saying, "Oh, I only run when I have to. I don't want to have to run. I'm
Yeah.
not a running back. I'm
They
a
need Nick
quarterback."
Chubb
Nah, nah,
back,
nah, 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 nah.
and they need Watson to get hurt so that they can go back to Stefanski's bread and butter, run the shit out of the ball and play
Mm-hmm.
action pass. That's never going to work with Watson, okay? But it will work if you have a healthy Chubb and a different backup quarterback or a different
Yeah.
quarterback, you know? So,
Yeah, the Packers, I have them at 18. I moved them up one spot. Look, if they beat any other team but Tennessee, maybe there's a
I know
handful.
Tennessee's killed themselves, right? So I
Yeah,
get it.
there's a handful of teams that they really there's quite a number of teams that they would have gotten a higher boost off the win, but Tennessee kind of as a team when we get to them, I don't know what to do with.
Yeah.
Uh, then I have the Bucks. I dropped them down 4 spots. Look, they look bad. Injuries caught up with them um, a little bit. They couldn't get to the quarterback. I think I want to say that Nix was hit 3 times in the entire game, which is not like
Not
he
a
was.
Todd Bowles defense.
Yeah, it's not Todd Bowles' defense. It's not what we've seen from the first couple of weeks against Knicks, which is why I think he had the best game. What I'm going to say is the best game of here. Not yardage wise, he didn't have any touchdowns, but he had the highest rating that he had. He also had 47 yards rushing. But I'm going to say he was hit 2 times. Did I say 3? It was only 2.
Close enough.
Um, he was rush. Uh, it, it doesn't give me that. QB rushes. Maybe under team stats. Like I swear I saw it. Blah 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 blah. Interception and sack share blah. He wasn't sacked, so he was hit twice. No, it doesn't give it to me. There was a stat I think I saw like he was like rushed like 4 times. Like he wasn't under pressure like at all, which is what he needs to understand to get up to speed in the NFL.
Yeah, for sure.
And then 20, I have the Colts. I moved them up 2 spots, just because I can.
Just because you can. Why
No,
not? They beat the Bears. What the heck?
no, they beat the Bears, but there are 2 teams that I dropped that I had ahead of them. One of them was a quite substantial drop, which ended up with a 2-spot jump for the Colts.
Okay. All right, at 16, James, I've got the Saints, then the Browns, the Vikings, the Falcons, and the Dolphins. And so the Saints stayed where they were at. I thought it was too close of a game to drop them. Cleveland, I dropped 2. You know, we talked about it. They just suck with Watson, dude. 18 with Minnesota, I moved him up to. I mean, hey, we covered it a little bit last week. I've been way off on these guys and where I was predicting them to be. I just need to figure out, how to boost them and when I'm going to like do the big move. But 19 Atlanta, I thought they were going to win that game. That pass interference was bad, but we already talked about it. 20 with the Dolphins, I've already, dropped them quite a bit. Um, in the falls just from here it's just going to be like a slow bleed every week until they can like figure out the quarterback situation.
Yeah,
We
I
know
think
that they've got immense potential on offense, but man, they got to figure out a quarterback until Tua gets back.
yeah,
Sorry, go ahead.
I think like it's a high potential that Tyler Huntley is going to be their starting quarterback this week.
Okay.
With Tua being on the IR, Skylar Thompson is questionable. I told you that like I texted you, it's like, oh, they gave up on him so
Yep.
early, and so
Well, he got
the
hurt.
way
Yeah.
he got hurt, he was getting like X-rays and it's a rib injury, but the way the injury report states it versus the way the sideline reporter was stating it in the game over the weekend, it was like they were concerned it was almost like they were concerned that he had like a punctured lung
Oh man. Yeah.
and shit
Like
like
a
that. Like,
dislocated rib or something.
yeah. So I mean, we'll see what happens as the week goes on. They do have an extra day, but if I'm being honest, the time he did play, he didn't really look that good.
Gotcha.
Like he didn't look bad, but he didn't look oh this is the
Capable
starting.
of carrying him to a win.
Yeah, like he was what 13 for 19 with 107 yards, but it's just like it didn't look and
Pedestrian.
it looked very pedestrian. Um, that was who was I just talking? Why was I just talking about about Miami?
You're on to 21. They were in my 16 through 20. And so I think you were just
Okay.
piggybacking on my comments.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I got myself lost after I was talking for. Okay, so 21. I have the Saints. The Saints, when they were winning this game, were on a track to be top 15, top 12.
Yeah. I'd have been
Like,
freaking out if they won that game. I would have thought, oh my God, the Derek Carr experiment finally worked for them.
right,
Dennis Allen finally has this team the where it needs to be with all the potential. And he still might. It just one game where Philly got him, right? But
right.
uh, yeah,
So I didn't move them. They stayed at 21. Tennessee dropped 2 spots to 22. They lost to Green Bay. It's it's still correcting for Tennessee. A lot of teams in here lost also. Um, so it's hard to move them down that much.
sure.
Then I have the Commanders went up 1 spot after beating Cincinnati. I need to see like another week out of Daniels. Like I am still telling you that Jaden Daniels was the most pro-ready quarterback in the draft, and I figured out why he was the most pro-ready quarterback in the draft because he was the oldest fucking quarterback in the draft.
uh, Ageism, James. Well, I like what you're saying though to pump the brakes a little bit because we saw the electric potential out of Anthony Richardson last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's streaky. It's streaky when you're young like that in the NFL. And Richardson obviously got hurt early in the season or whatever. But with Jaden Daniels, it was a big boom. But can he repeat it? And I,
Yeah,
I I think he can. But will he repeat it every week starting now? I don't. That's unreasonable for anybody to request out of a rookie
yeah,
quarterback.
and he started 55 games in college.
Yeah,
So I mean that's quite a
he's got
number
some
of games.
experience.
He's got the experience, and that makes sense. I think he was the I I really saw what I saw in college in that game, and he's not gonna repeat it every week. He will have a solid rookie year, but then again, also we didn't think that C.J. Stroud could repeat his success week in and week out that he did last year,
It's
and he
true.
did it. So we'll see what happens with Daniels. Giants, I moved them up 6 spots for beating Cleveland. I don't know, like I don't like moving them up
You,
six
you
spots,
love
but
Dable. You're giving him some love.
a lot of teams here are lost, and I also kind of I killed a team, which we'll get to. I
Sure.
killed them a second week in a row.
Okay.
Panthers, I moved them up 7 spots to 25. Hey, every team that I have after the Panthers lost, except for one, and I really, really killed my dumpster fire team.
Yeah, I'm taking a sneak peek at it, but um, I'll try not to let the cat out of the bag. So yeah, at 21 I've got Washington, 22 Jacksonville, then I've got Chicago, Arizona, and the Los Angeles Rams. The Commanders I moved them up 2 spots. We covered it pretty well. The Jags I moved them down one. and I tried to not kill them because it's Buffalo, and I think Jacksonville sucks bad and they belong in the bottom tier somewhere. But Buffalo is just fucking on a mission, dude.
Hmm.
But I think the bigger thing too out of that game is, holy shit, how bad does the Trevor Lawrence contract look right now? I mean, they were saying that he's like leading the league in passes or in turnovers, sorry, and like since like his rookie year or whatever, and Josh Allen is like second, but the difference is Josh Allen has like fucking three times the amount of touchdowns. So it's like, okay, well, you can have some turnovers when you're fucking getting into the end zone all the time. So,
And the
uh,
fucked up thing about that stat is he's missed a lot of time in that span too.
yeah, it's bad, dude. It's bad. I can't. Yeah, looking at it now, I'm like, I understand why they paid him because teams get like afraid. It's like the Jay Cutler thing. It's like, well, you'd rather have Cutler than an unknown, the devil
Right.
you know versus the devil you don't or whatever.
But
But
I said it when
man,
they signed that when they gave him all that money. I said Trevor Lawrence just showed that a mediocre quarterback can get a big payday in the
yeah.
NFL.
Oh, and I don't even know if he's mediocre now. I mean, he looks really
Oh
bad.
yeah.
But the more this goes on, dude, he looks really bad. But yeah, and then Chicago, I dropped him one on the loss, but it does look like Caleb Williams is showing signs of life as a passer, and so maybe this is a turning point for them. Maybe being the key word. The Cardinals, I kept them where they were at. They had that great first drive in the game, and then they went silent almost until the end, where they kind of like tried to get back in it, but. And then with the Rams at 25, I moved them up one spot. This was me just feeling compelled to keep them below Arizona since they lost to Arizona like the week before or whatever. But um, with them beating the 49ers, it's like, man, I really did want to move them a lot higher. And it's a Sean McVay team, but I'm like, yeah, but it was their first win, so I don't want to go crazy, right? So back to you at 26, man.
All right. So 26 through 30, all these teams lost. All these teams dropped one spot. Uh, okay, the Raiders, then the Cardinals, then the Bears, the Patriots, and the Falcons. I wanted to move the Falcons up, but they lost, and ultimately, I couldn't really. Also, if I wouldn't have moved Carolina up ahead of all these teams, all these teams would have stayed the same. I just the Falcons. I need.
Yeah,
I
you're
just
just not a believer.
I'm not a believer in them, and they piss me off as a franchise. So by
I like
drafting
that. Yeah, I like that.
Penix
Call
Jr.
call out the whole franchise. Okay, yeah. So for me, 26, Indianapolis. Then I've got Vegas, Denver, Carolina, and the New York Giants. With the Colts, it was an ugly win, so I didn't want to get too excited about it. That's why I still got them below Chicago. Um, I like the excitement with Richardson, but man, I'll be honest, James. I thought he would be a step ahead of this as a passer by now, and he's not. He
Well,
still
but
looks.
you got to be fair to him because he played what 2-3 games last year and then sat
I
out
I
the rest of
know,
the season.
I
So
know,
he's
but
only
I
started
would have
like
thought
four
that
games,
just
5 games, and
I just my opinion is that even so, you had all that time to work with coaches and I just thought we would see a little more polish by now, but that's okay.
I
That's okay.
no, I
He's
agree with
still
you.
super young, dude. He's still
I'm
super
def-
young. I get it, and I believe he still has massive potential. I just wanted to see him like one step better as a passer by now. That's all I'm saying. Uh, with the Raiders, I dropped him two. Quarterback's an issue. They put O'Connell in at the end. Pierce is flirting with the idea of starting O'Connell, but I guess he's committed to Minshew for now. It's tough, man. We know Minshew is a bridge at best. Uh, the Denver Broncos, I moved him up to. It was a pleasant surprise. Same with Carolina. Red Rocket came and rescued that team. And then at 30, the Giants, I moved him up to. that one I just had my comment, did they win or did Watson lose? Because, man, especially the end of that game, I was just like, wow, nobody wants to put this game away. It just was so bad. Uh, oh, man. Sometimes you watch a football game and you're like, neither team belongs here. It just was so bad. But, yeah, back to you for the dumpster fire, my man.
All right, so Broncos, they stayed at 31 even though they won. I just need to see more out of them. And then for the second week in a row, I dropped the Jaguars down 9 spots.
Yeah, just
Jaguars
killing
are a dumpster fire. More on them. Question of the week.
it. Okay. Yeah, my dumpster fire, I got the Patriots, and then I've got the Titans. And the Patriots, they started the year with a bang, but this past game in particular against the Jets, it became so apparent to me that they probably have the worst offensive line in the league. And I think that that's something that's very hard to get over. And, um, there were people talking about, well, you got to start Drake May. Brissett's not going to get it done. And, dude, all I can think is with their offensive line playing this bad, you drag out how long until you put your rookie in because you do not want him going in getting shell shocked. You want him going in when that offensive line is gelling and giving him time to process. And just, it's like, man, don't put him in too soon because he's just going to be a sitting duck. But then Tennessee, dude, Tennessee's all Levis, man. Levis
Hmm.
is single-handedly destroying that team. They've been running the ball well. They've had great moments on defense. Levis has like just god awful turnovers, and he has them at the worst times too. And so, um, I like Levis, man, as a personality. I'm hopeful that he can figures this out. But if they want to win games, dude, they're going to have to think about how long they stick with him. All right, that gets us through the power
Well,
rankings, James.
I would ask, do they want to win games?
To the is it a suck for luck kind of thing?
Yeah,
It might be. I don't know. I mean, what's the quarterback crop looking like?
not very good this coming year.
Well, then you don't. This
So
is not
far,
the one you want to do, then, right?
like I've been kind of looking, kind of keeping an eye on it, and like it's not looking that good.
Oh, don't break the bottle.
Yeah, it's so just kind of like glancing at it. Like I'm not high on anyone yet. It's early in the season, or
Yeah, we
for
don't
in
need
the
to go crazy into it right now. It's just if somebody stuck out, but if not, it's that much worse for a team like Tennessee.
yeah. So according to ESPN, Tennessee has a 15.7% chance of getting the number one pick.
Okay. I'll tell you, man. I'll go to my boy Walter Football's website, man. I like what he does for the draft. Give me Walt's mock. Come on, man. Give me Walt's mock.
It might be too early for that.
Oh, however you say his name, Shadur Sanders, Deion's son. They
Yeah,
they
the
got
thing,
him as the top quarterback, which I don't know, dude. I don't know enough about him. I get worried about the hype with Deion. Like, is his kid really that good?
so his kid is that good, and his kid is clearly the favorite for the Heisman Trophy this year.
Okay.
I just don't think that his game will
Yeah, and they
translate
say
well
his
to the
arm
NFL.
strength is kind of soft for NFL level, but then you got Carson Beck projected to go number two. In Carson Beck, they're saying huge arm, and he's a bigger quarterback with quality accuracy. Um, oh, come on. Now my web page froze on me. It's because Walter's got a lot of ads on his site. And then Quinn Ewers, however you say his name, from Texas. He's the next one. So you got a few. Cam Ward out of Miami. I don't see it being a crazy quarterback class like this past year. I mean, but then again,
No.
I didn't see this last year being that crazy either. So
So this last year,
Walter's got Cleveland picking first. Holy cow, that would be
yeah, but
nuts.
you got to read what he says about Cleveland. The old Deshaun Watson is never
Yeah,
coming back. It's
yeah.
unclear if it's too many massages or too many
Oh
injuries.
no, he went there. Oh no, oh
So
no.
they could
Oh, they
trade
could
up.
trade up. Okay, all right. No, I get it now. See, normally Walter doesn't bake in trades, but I get that. Okay. All
And
right.
also, because we lost so much money during the draft, I want to point out that you can really help support the site by paying for the ad-free version of it.
Yeah. I like Walter, man. He's legit. He's legit.
Yeah. So,
All right.
anyways, they don't really stand out um, onto the game picks.
Yes.
Do, do, do.
Why don't you recap us where we're at, man? You got me right
Uh,
now, you son of a bitch.
yeah, so we had a not so stellar week. I got 9 right. You got 8. Um, so about 50%. We're a little bit over, right around 60% somewhere.
Yeah, you're at
I have,
62 and a half, and I'm at 60.4.
yeah, I hadn't done the math in my head, um, but I
I
have
did it in Excel.
yeah, I have 30 correct picks. You have 29. Woohoo! I'm still winning. Um,
Hey, you know what? You're just inspiring me to go full model again like I did last year. But, I don't want to because it takes a lot of time, and I think there's another way to skin this cat. So,
yeah. So then we have the Thursday night game with Dallas playing its first short week on the road
yes,
in their history.
yes.
And it goes back to up until last year. Like most teams have played like 6 Thursday night games on the road, or something, 6 short weeks on the road. But because up until last year, um, a team could only play one time on Thursday, and since Dallas always hosted Thanksgiving,
Thanksgiving.
that was their Thursday game. So this year they happened to play similar to what the Lions did last year. They play a division foe, both games on Thursday. Lions did that with Green Bay last year, or
Okay.
was it 2 years ago? Last year was Green Bay on Thanksgiving. No, yeah, last year was Green Bay on Thanksgiving because they alternate AFC and NFC teams. Um, but we have Dallas at the New York Giants. I know you want to talk about how good the Giants are going to do in this game and how bad the Cowboys have been playing. This is the ultimate get right team for the get right game for the Dallas Cowboys. I don't think it could have been scheduled better. I also don't think it's possible for them to lose 3 games in a row. Like I said last week, they won't lose 3 games in a row, so Dallas wins the game.
But Cincinnati did lose 3 games in a row. But you didn't say that about them, to
I
be
didn't
fair.
say that about them. I said Dallas
You
won't
said
lose
it
3
about
games.
Baltimore last week, and now yeah, I got you, man. So, um, yeah, I mean, I feel like even though it's in New York with the Giants here, I think you'd be crazy to take the Giants. And so I got to go with Dallas. I'm looking at lineups, and this is, where I'm, loosely based my model on. Last year was a lot based on it, but they've got Dallas is a 93 team rating. The Giants are probably the lowest in the league. It's 72. Okay. You're not going to see a spread like that very often, a 20-point team rating spread.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would be nuts to take the Giants. If it was close, you could say, okay, I'm going to give the home team an edge. But I mean, it's got to be like 5 points close, not 20 points. So Dallas for me, my man.
Then we have the Saints at the Falcons. In this game, It gave me okay. So after week 2, if I would have had to pick this game, it would have been clear cut. It's the Saints. The way the Saints game against this past week against
Philly.
Philadelphia went with them, and how the Falcons basically, if it weren't for a missed pass interference call, would have won this past week. It gave me a lot of pause. And it still gives me a lot of pause to pick the Saints, but I'm going to roll with the Saints because I'm pissed off at the Falcons at what they did to Kirk Cousins. So,
I got you. No, and it's not a bad pick. To me, this is like flip a coin in this game. Um, Lineups has the Saints at an 86, and they've got the Falcons at an 81. I do believe the Saints have a significantly better defense. Their offense was lights out in week 1 and 2, and then they got stifled by Philly's defense last week, which Philly's defense looked leaky in the first 2 weeks.
mhm.
A lot of people said Fangio was able to get them to like really tighten down. If that's the case, I don't want to be too hard on the Saints for their offense sputtering, but um, so this is a scenario where I'm like, okay, you got a 5 point spread on the ratings, but it's in Atlanta. I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt here and take them as the home team, even though, in my opinion, it's very close. Like I'd flip a coin. And to me, Atlanta, they got to keep running the ball well. That's what's opening up the offense for Cousins. And so if New Orleans can shut down the run game, oh, they'll control the game all day long. But yeah,
Then
I'm
we
taking
have
Atlanta.
then we have the Bengals at the Panthers. Last week I said I'm not going to pick the Panthers out to win a game ever again this season. After last week's result, it gave me a little pause, but I don't want to jump right back on the bandwagon because I fucking just jumped way the fuck off it
Red
and
Rocket revenge game.
ran as far fucking away from it as I could.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna stick with what I said last week. Maybe give me a couple weeks in a row of looking like they did last week, and I might start to warm up to them again. But I'm not picking Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably the prudent thing to do, right? And so here's the kicker with lineups. They've got Carolina's offense rated as a 67, which is as low as it gets, basically. Every
But is
player in
that
lineups
is
can
that with
only
Andy
go to a
Dalton as the
67.
starter, or with Bryce Young as the starter?
Yeah, I mean, I got to believe this is well, I'm sure that they've taken Andy Dalton down to probably a 67 by now anyhow, but either way, it's um, either way, it's sorry, I just got a distraction there for a second. This is one where it's a 7 point swing on the teams. So you got an 84 for Cincy and a 77 for Carolina. I think Cincinnati's a little bit better in terms of the spread here, and Carolina's a little bit worse than what lineups is doing. And so I don't care that Cincy's on the road. I'm taking them, you know, and I gotta believe, will they lose a fourth game in a row? I mean, hey, you talked about the three and this and whatever. I don't see Cincinnati going 0-4, man. I think that, they know they got a 2.4% chance of getting to the playoffs. They're going to try their freaking hardest to be one of those 2.4%.
Next up, we have the Rams at the Bears. I just want Chicago to lose the game, so I'm picking the Rams. I don't have any in-depth analysis of it. I just want Chicago to lose, so I'm going to pick against them.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that that's fair. You get to do what you want to do. This is one where I buck what lineups is doing, and I defer basically to my power rankings here. Is that I still have the Rams. I'm sorry, I still have the Bears a little bit higher than the Rams in my power rankings, and a lot of that's based on the Bears' defense. Now, Caleb Williams showed some signs of life last week. If he can keep that momentum going, I like that for Chicago playing at home. But it's hard to get too confident when you still have Stafford and Sean McVay. You know, they are dealing with a lot of injuries. And so, you know, I'm taking Chicago, but I would say it's a very low confidence level with that pick.
All right. Then we have the Vikings at the Packers. I'm just rolling with Minnesota in this game. I ride
Ride the hot hand, man.
I like the story of Darnold. I like what I see, and their defense is playing really good. I don't think Malik Willis can keep up what he's been doing. I think there's a reason why Tennessee moved on from him, and I think it's going to show. Love may not start. I might change this pick. That might change the pick, but right now, assuming Willis is starting for the Packers, I'm going to pick the Vikings.
Yeah, and we got some action here, so I'm going to take the Packers. I like them at Lambeau. You know, I'm still a little bit stunned by how good Minnesota's been, and I'm trying to like get myself all the way on board with them. When I look at their team ratings, they're so close. Minnesota 84, Green Bay 81. I think Green Bay actually has more talent than what lineups is giving them credit for. You know, but yeah, I do believe Malik Willis is the wild card here. If he can play like he did last week, I think Green Bay for sure can win this game. But, you know, Brian Flores has been so phenomenal with the Vikings defense that if Willis can't get things going, for sure, yeah, Minnesota should walk away with it. But I'm going to stick with Green Bay for now. That's my pick, my man.
All right, then we have the Jaguars at the Texans. I don't want to get too much into the Jaguars in the game, but I think the Texans are going to too much into the Jaguars because of you've given me the preview for Question of the Week. The Jaguars are just a bad team. I think Houston's going to bounce back from the loss to the Vikings and win this game.
Yeah, I take Houston. You know, like I said earlier when we did the power rankings, I'm still a big believer in the Texans, even though they've, had a little bit of a speed bump. But, you know, and this is where it's crazy is, you know, lineups has Jacksonville as an 88 and Houston as a 76. Man, I would flip those. And you know, so we talk about how you and you're a little quicker to make the moves than I am. I like having like an extra degree of confirmation. Lineups is like a whole level slower than I am, James. And so that's where my model built off of lineups last year was kind of the sweet spot for me, right? Because I could kind of take this and week in, week out, boost guys, drop guys, whatever else. And then I felt really good with my ratings, but you know, I can't support this. I still think Houston is like night and day better than Jacksonville.
Mm-hmm. All right, then we have the Steelers at the Colts. I really want Indy to win this game. I don't like how Richardson's been playing, especially against Pittsburgh, who their defense is. I mean, defense in Pittsburgh is the bread and butter, and they're just filthy this year on defensively. Yeah. And at some point, you know, I think Fields is kind of going to play pissed off in this game. He's just like, what, motherfucker, Tomlin? You still won't say that I'll be the starter if Russ comes back, even though I brought us to a 3-0 start? Oh, how about a 4-0 start? Will you still not? Will you say it now? So I'm on Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I like that. I'm taking Pittsburgh as well. Pittsburgh is just so well coached, so disciplined. They are dogfighting wins that I never expected. Indianapolis, yeah, they've got Richardson with this like crazy high ceiling, but he is like the ultimate boomer bust quarterback in the NFL right now. And their defense, in my opinion, Indy's defense has been letting them down. They've got some injuries, so I'm not just going to like totally smoke them, but um, I feel like I'd be crazy to not stick with Pittsburgh, man. And I think Tomlin knows that his team is like they're whether you give him it or not, he knows that they are roster talent wise going to be underdogs almost all year, and he's got to take every win he can because you never know when they could go on a freaking 3-4 game losing skid and jeopardize their playoffs. And so I think they get it here, dude, for sure. It's a winnable game. I think they're going to get it.
And we have the Broncos at the Jets. So I actually, my pick of the Jets in this game is solely based on the home team. I think if it was in Denver, the Broncos would have a better shot. And yeah,
Really? Okay.
the Broncos played on the road and won last week. So, but I think Nix is getting it, and he's just going to get better from here. I think the Broncos may have found their quarterback. I don't know how winning of a quarterback it is, but at least they may have found their franchise quarterback, which is what you hope for drafting a quarterback that high in the draft. But I just think the home team gives just an edge to the Jets here.
I got you. Yeah, see, and I guess I don't want to get ahead of myself, right? Because you're talking up Knicks, but I do want to point out that Denver's defense has been really good so far this year too, right? And that's been a big reason why they've been able to stay somewhat close in some games, and then obviously get the win last week. But for me, I am just it's like I'm enamored with how good Rodgers looked last week. And it reminded me of classic Aaron Rodgers. And whether he can do that every week, I don't know. But if he got his freaking mojo back, I think the Jets are ready to make a serious run like everybody's been planning on, and why they got like a million freaking primetime games for. And so I'm going with the Jets here, man.
Yeah. I'm just not there on Rodgers yet. Will I start him in fantasy this week? Probably. But that's because my other quarterback is Richardson. And
Oh, yeah, you got to make choices.
got to make some choices. And
Yeah.
glad I have Rodgers to bail me
Well,
out.
hey, I just dropped Herbert. You can pick him up.
Okay. All right. Then we have the Eagles at the Buccaneers. Last week, the Eagles went into New Orleans, which I think is the best team currently in the NFC South, and gutted out a win. I think with the injuries that Tampa Bay is dealing with, they have no shot at the Eagles, and I think the Eagles are going to play pissed off because everyone's talking. A lot of stuff this week is, are the Eagles really as good as we thought they were? Because they had a close win at New Orleans. I think the Eagles are going to go into Tampa Bay and say, "This is what we can do. Fuck you."
Yeah, I like the way you put that. And I think this could be a really good game. This could be like, in my opinion, this could be like game of the week potential or crappy game of the week potential. I think it could be like at either end of the spectrum, right? Because both of these teams have showed that they can be really good teams and that they can also really disappoint. And um, Philly, yeah, chip on their shoulder. Tampa Bay, do they really want to lose two in a row at home? That'd be bad for them. I think Philly gets it. I like what they're doing with Saquon. They're maximizing him minus the 1 week where he dropped that pass where he could have iced the game, but he has been a factor for them where their passing game has lagged. And A.J. Brown, I believe, is out again for this game. And so they're going to need to lean on Saquon, get Dallas Goedert involved again like they did last week. And I think they've got the better potential than Tampa Bay, even though it's on the road. So I'm going Philly, my man.
All right. Next up, we have the Commanders at the Cardinals. This one, I don't really know what to think of the Cardinals because, like, even in the game against the Lions, they played it was like two different teams. Like,
Yeah.
it started up bad, and then they came on, and like but the week before, they just like
Torch
pushed the shit
Rams.
in on the Rams.
Yeah.
I think Daniels had his coming out party, and I think that'll continue this week against the Cardinals, and the Commanders win.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Washington is the more talented team. Kyler Murray is obviously a more seasoned quarterback than Jaden Daniels, but we're seeing really how streaky the Cardinals' offense is. Sometimes they look great, sometimes they look non-existent, sometimes they're just forcing it to Marvin Harrison Jr. It's like, man, that's not a recipe for success. And then their defense looks good, but when their offense is that streaky, it puts the defense at a disadvantage. I think Washington can be a more methodical, march down the field kind of team that can control the game. And so, even though it's on the road, I think they beat the Cardinals, my man.
Next up, we have the Patriots at the 49ers. If Belichick was still coaching the Patriots, I would seriously take a look at picking the Patriots to win this game.
Oh, man.
It's San Francisco with all the injuries they're dealing with, everything San Francisco's dealing with. Yeah, they have a million people on IR every year, but I think it's finally catching up to them. And all these long playoff runs, it's finally
Yeah.
catching up to them. I think San Francisco is primed to lose this game. I just can't pick the Patriots to beat San Francisco.
Yeah, I mean, to me, unless Purdy got hurt, it's like, can I really say Brissett is capable of beating the 49ers? And
Mm-hmm.
that I just don't see happening unless Purdy has a total meltdown or gets hurt. If he melts down and throws like 2 pick-sixes or something ridiculous, um, man. But I've been saying that. I've been saying something like that all year, and the 49ers are only 1-2. So um, I'm taking San Fran. They should win. If they lose, man, I will really be reevaluating things on my power rankings, man. I'll tell you that.
Mm-hmm. Next up, we have the Chiefs at the Chargers. And in this game, if I'm being honest with you, I considered picking the Chargers to win this game. If Herbert wasn't dealing with the injuries that he was dealing with, I may have done so. But I'm going to go with the Chiefs. The way the Chiefs are playing, they've been lucky, and that luck's going to run out. They have to win games with skill, not luck.
Yeah.
And they have to show me more. Because they're winning, I didn't drop them out of my down in my power rankings, but I'm not.
Yeah, you're losing confidence.
I'm losing confidence in them, and I'm really starting to lose confidence in them.
I got you. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm taking the Chiefs here, and a lot of it to me is that the Chargers are dealing with so many injuries, and so it's I like.
And Derwin James being out.
Yeah, and the suspension. Yep, that's a good point. I like Harbaugh. I feel like as a coach, he has that potential where he can get a team to win any game at any time. You just never know, but not when you're at this kind of a disadvantage. Even though Kansas City's been getting a little bit of luck in their favor, it's almost like they're getting that luck because of LA's injuries, and it kind of buys them one more week to sort of like iron out the wrinkles that we've been seeing so far this year.
Yeah. All right. Then we have the Browns at the Raiders. I'm gonna actually switch the pick to the Raiders from what I sent you. The more and more I think about it, the more down I am on Cleveland and more potential I see with the Raiders,
Okay.
especially if Aiden O'Connell's starting. Minshew starting, I think they have I think they can win. If Aiden O'Connell is starting, I might be more confident in that, but I'm gonna go with the Raiders in a close game.
Yeah, and so lineups is saying that the line has the Raiders winning, so that's not a horrible flip, in my opinion. I'm still going to stick with Cleveland. Man, I'm just hopeful that their defense is going to lock it down and carry them. Um, you know, I know Chubb's not coming back yet, but um, I'm just, I don't know. I think the Raiders have some injuries on defense too, and so it's like it's a tough game for me to pick, to be honest. But I'm
Mhm.
sticking with Cleveland. I think their team talent is higher. They've just been drugged down by their quarterback, and so I'm going to go with Cleveland.
All right. And then this is another game where I'm going with the home team. If it was flipped, I probably would go the other way on it. But
Yeah,
Buffalo at Baltimore, I think this is a really close game. This might be one of the games of the week. I think it's a well matched game. Buffalo, like you said, has been coming out on that fuck you tour, and I think but the Ravens also are coming out on that. Well, we had
don't
they
count
they
us
had
out yet.
don't count us out, and the Ravens have really had. If you honestly look at their schedule, they've had a difficult first three games, and I
Hmm.
mean, they started with Kansas
Kansas City.
City, and then they had drawing a blank. Then they had the Raiders, which is not that big game, but they
That was an
lost to the
upset,
Raiders.
but yeah,
That was an upset. And then they're Dallas, and then they're home. They were at Dallas. Then they're home against Buffalo,
that's going to
and then
wear them
they're
down, man.
and then they're at Cincinnati. It's a really rough start. Like
Yeah.
four. I mean, the
Well,
way Cincinnati's
yeah,
been
and I think
playing,
I was
but
calling that out in our predictions, right? Because it was like, man, to me, they had the most talent in the division, but they
hmm
had like significantly harder schedule than anybody else in the division. It was weird how it worked out for them.
hmm
And we're kind of seeing it play out. Sometimes it plays out like you think it'll play out, and that's what's happening, unfortunately. But I'm with you. I'm taking Baltimore. I'm taking the home team. I've basically got these teams as like a dead heat, and because it's at home for Baltimore, they get the edge. I also really liked how they leaned on Derrick Henry last week. If they keep doing that, that to me is their secret to success. Okay, Lamar, yeah, you know what Lamar is and what he can do. Let Derrick Henry carry the ball 20 something times a game and just slowly beat the defense down. And then Lamar can be your wild card to do whatever heck you need to do around that. But don't make Lamar do it because we've seen when you put the pressure on him, it either booms or it busts. And so, that's a more consistent model with Derrick Henry.
so an interesting thing about Derrick Henry is he wanted to go to Dallas. Dallas just wouldn't return his call.
Yeah, yeah. Jerry Jones said they couldn't afford him. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
You've
whatever.
paid everybody and their mom, but you couldn't afford Derrick Henry. Or maybe you
Yeah,
didn't want to because you saw how bad it worked out with Zeke. So, but Derrick Henry ain't Zeke, my man.
yeah. Next game, first Monday night game, and I'm sick of these Monday night two games that
Yeah, the
start within
double
like
up. I actually
with
kind
like
of liked it, but I could see where it could be a disaster because this past Monday, James, I was at home by myself. And so it was very easy for me to just kind of like, jockey between the two games. And so I
mhm.
was like, that's cool. But I could see if you got your kids there or you're distracted or whatever, it would drive me nuts that Mondays are doing that, man.
Yeah, and I think there's like 4 Mondays that have this game.
The double down. I got you.
Yeah. Anyways, we
Yeah,
have
yeah. It's
Tennessee.
it's like, hey man, could you like at least make the first one at like 6:30 so that they got, like one's halfway over before the other one starts?
Yeah. We have Tennessee at Miami. Miami is a completely different team without Tua at quarterback.
Yeah.
Lucky for them, they have Tennessee coming in with Levis, who just shoots the team in the foot
Oh yeah.
every fucking week. I'm If they were playing almost any other team in the league, I might be tempted to pick Miami to lose, but since they're playing Tennessee, I'm going to go with Miami.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. Same exact logic. And so here's the thing, lineups, and so yeah, this is where lineups is lagged. They're showing Miami as a 99 offense. Sorry, with Tua out, I don't care how good Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Mostert, a chain, all these guys are. It means nothing without a quarterback that can guide that offense. And so,
Mm-hmm.
but Levis has been so bad in just I don't know, dude. What's going on with him? Like, it just is he just putting so much pressure on himself that he's just snapping in every game? I don't know, but I just can't take Tennessee, dude. Until Levis calms the frick down, Miami's got this one.
Yeah. And we have the game that I'm going to watch on Monday night. I don't know about you. We have Seattle at Detroit, and regularly Detroit chokes against Seattle. How many times have we gone in this a game like that where like
Too
Detroit's
many. Too
been
many.
up, and then
Yeah.
Seattle finds a way to win the game.
Yeah.
But Ford Field's going to be a rockin'. Don't come a knockin'. Detroit's going to win this game in a blowout.
James, I would love it if it was a blowout. To me, I've been waiting for the Lions to just wreck somebody, to basically show everybody, oh, hey, we didn't sell out with all these commercials and all this garbage and blah, 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 blah. Uh, Win it with authority, and I will feel much more convicted about the Lions. Right now, I'm very rattled with the Lions at 2-1 and barely beating the Arizona Cardinals, in my opinion. And so, um, yeah, I. But either way, I'm taking the Lions. I have them as the higher rated team at home, which is just you got to take it. There's no reason for me to flip it. Um, Seattle is the hotter team, young coach, unpredictable offense, defense. But I'm taking Detroit, dude.
All right, and then we have the Thursday game, Tampa at Atlanta. I'm tentatively picking Tampa Bay, but I'm really tempted to pick Atlanta in the game. I might change after this weekend's slate.
Yeah, I'm with you, and I'm kind of feeling the same. Is that I need to see one more week of both of these teams. But on paper right now, I've got Tampa Bay uh, just enough higher in my power rankings that I got to stick with them, even though it's on the road in Atlanta. And so I'm with you there. And we've got until next week to adjust that. But speaking of which, I think we're looking at maybe next Friday for Gigi. So I guess we would be, um, you know, past the Thursday game. So we do got to make the pick. So that's fine.
Yeah, exactly. That's the picks. Anything you want to add? Comments, last thoughts on the picks before you move to question of the week?
Nope, that's all I got on the picks. And so, James, going to the question of the week, it's just a continuation. We talked about it last week. When do you pull the plug on Doug Peterson? We talked about, hey, 0-3, you lose at Buffalo. Now they're going, what is it, to Houston? And so it's, 0-4, you pull the plug. I don't know. I think Doug Peterson is handling it well. He's talking about there's no more rah rah, trying to fire up the team. They know what they need to do, and it's on them. Like they're They're screwing themselves over. ETN with the fumble in week 1. Trevor Lawrence just playing like dog shit. Gabe Davis, Monday night against his old team, not catching barely any of the passes thrown his way. These guys just are. It's really ugly. It's really bad. I said it last week. If you go 0-3, you lose to Buffalo, you do it. You gotta either fire him or you got to make some big trade or do something. It was an embarrassing loss. I still think you got to make a move. If you're not going to fire him, you got to make a big trade, but you got to do it now. What are you thinking, man?
So I said last week that it depends on how they lose. They got blown out, and I said if they get if they lose a game where they're outplayed, maybe not making the mistakes, not making the
Yeah, if they
mistakes,
play well, but it's close and they still lose or whatever, yeah.
But this past week they just looked absolutely lost, absolutely 100% lost.
Yeah.
They played at Buffalo. What Khan should have done, the owner of the team, should have given Peterson bus fare and said, find your own way home. You're no longer the coach of this team.
We're going to Greyhound you, buddy. See you later.
That's how bad this team looked on Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was against Buffalo. Maybe that gives them a little bit of a reprieve. But when you look at Jacksonville's schedule, like, it's difficult to find their first win.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, they have Houston, then Indy, then they have Chicago. Maybe New England's going to be their first win. But then they have Green Bay, who's playing well, Philadelphia, Minnesota, who's playing well, at Detroit. Then they come out of the bye with Houston. Oh, maybe Tennessee's a good win. They got the Jets. Maybe they have 2-3 wins on
Sounds like a very
schedule.
ugly season, man.
They have like
for a team that supposedly has their franchise quarterback.
Not only that, Khan coming into the season said, this is the best team we've had in a while.
Yeah. Not better than the Blake Bortles AFC Championship team.
And to say that, and then to have the results they've had through 3 weeks, through 4 weeks after they lose to Houston, you got to do something. Because if you have such a talented team that you think you have, why the fuck aren't you winning? It's got to be the coach. If you don't think it's the coach, then, like you said, make a fucking move, because you got to do something. And you got to do something to turn it around now. Because if they lose 4 games, 5 games to start the season, like, their season's basically done.
Yeah.
And they just gave Lawrence all that fucking money, and it looks bad.
Yeah. Now, I like Doug Peterson, but I don't know what you do. I mean, if you can't make a massive blockbuster trade that could, like, reestablish your identity, I think you got to fire Peterson, dude. It's basically you're firing him, and in doing it, you're basically telling Trevor Lawrence, hey, we made a mistake, buddy, and you're next. So you better start winning with whoever becomes the interim coach, or we're going to find a way to Russell Wilson you.
Mm-hmm. Maybe they should just do it anyways, but
they should. I mean, if they could find a suitor, but nobody's going to want to trade for him with how dog shit he's playing.
Yeah. Maybe Tennessee.
Oh, man. Maybe if Tennessee's looking at the quarterback crop saying, oh, we're effed, I still don't think they take Trevor Lawrence, man. He's just been that bad.
I
All
know.
right, but yeah, that's the question of the week. That's all I got for the show tonight. James, we're going to keep it rolling next week. Same thing, same agenda, same everything, except it'll be on Friday instead of Wednesday. So, you got any closing questions, comments, concerns, funny jokes, anything like that? Bad jokes?
Not
Nothing?
not a not a joke that I would share on YouTube. I'll tell you
Okay.
after.
Yeah, we don't want to get censored. Okay. All right. Well, hey, like always, buddy, it was good. I'll catch you later. Have a good night there, James.
All right, sounds good. Have a good one.
Gridiron Grinder. Hut hut hike.